A young lady first, and then I'm going to call on a gentleman. We're just going to keep on going down the line, and we'll get through as many as we can. All right, everybody's pointing in this this young woman in the red here, so we'll start with you. And if you don't mind, introduce yourself. Wait for the microphone. The microphone will be coming up. And all right.
Hello, Mr. President. My name is Layla Abdelaziz. I'm a student at the University of South Florida.
Hey, Layla. Come on, we can all get along here. Tampa, behave yourselves.
First of all, I'd like to say that I did work on your campaign. I think it's great what you did for the community because you involved us as the youth to understand the grassroots movement and what impact it can make.
Thank you.
My question is, last night in your State of the Union address, you spoke of America's support for human rights. Mm-hmm. Then why have we not condemned Israel and Egypt's human rights violations against the occupied Palestinian people, and yet we continue to support financially with billions of dollars coming from our tax dollars?
Okay, now everybody's got to be courteous. Everybody's answering the question. Let me just talk about the Middle East generally. Look. All right, everybody, come on. Hold on 1 second. I got to answer my question first, sir. Okay. I know you got some beads on? Are those New Orleans beads? Okay. Look. The Middle East is obviously an issue that has plagued the region for centuries. And it's an issue that elicits a lot of passions, as you heard. Here's my view. Israel is one of our strongest allies. It has... let me play this out. It is a vibrant democracy. It shares links with us in all sorts of ways. It is critical for us, and I will never waver from ensuring Israel's security and helping them secure themselves in what is a very hostile region. So I make no apologies for that. What is also true is that the plight of the Palestinians is something that we have to pay attention to, because it is not good for our security, and it is not good for Israel's security. If you've got millions of individuals who feel hopeless, who don't have an opportunity to get an education or get a job or what have you. Now, the history of there is long, and I don't have time to go through the grievances of both sides in the issue. What I have said, and what we did from the beginning when I came into office, is to say we are seeking a two-state solution in which Israel and the Palestinians can live side by side in peace and security. In order to do that, both sides are going to have to make compromises. As a first step, the Palestinians have to unequivocally renounce violence and recognize Israel. And Israel has to acknowledge legitimate grievances and interests of the Palestinians. We know what a solution could look like in the region, but here's the problem that we're confronting right now, is that both in Israel and within the Palestinian territories, the politics are difficult. They're divided. The Israeli government came in based on the support of a lot of folks who don't want to make a lot of concessions. I think Prime Minister Netanyahu is actually making some effort to try to move a little bit further than his coalition wants him to go. On the other hand, President Abbas of the Palestinian Authority, who I think genuinely wants peace, has to deal with Hamas, an organization that has not recognized Israel and has not disavowed violence. And so we are working to try to strengthen the ability of both parties to sit down across the table and to begin serious negotiations. And I think that it's important when we're talking about this issue to make sure that we don't just knee-jerk use language that is inflammatory or in some fashion discourages the possibility of negotiation. We've got to recognize that both the Palestinian people and Israelis have legitimate aspirations, and they can be best served if the United States is helping them understand each other as opposed to demonizing each other. All right? Okay. All right. It's a gentleman's turn. It's a gentleman's turn. This gentleman here, I'm going to go on the other side of the room. This gentleman in the yellow tie.
Bill Siegel, Orange County Commissioner. Welcome, Mr. President. What's the decision matrix going to look like for high-speed rail? How are we going to decide who gets what, and when is the announcement going to be made?
Well, I probably should have Mr. Biden talk about this because he has been working diligently overseeing the Recovery Act. Let me make a general point about high-speed rail as well as the way the infrastructure is being moved through the Recovery Act. The general point number one is that making an investment in infrastructure is a twofer because it creates jobs immediately and it lays the foundation for a vibrant economy in the future. So it's one of our best investments. But it's expensive. We've got a couple of $1 trillion worth of infrastructure repairs just on our old infrastructure, our existing infrastructure, our roads, our bridges. People remember what happened to the bridge up in Minneapolis that just buckled and collapsed. Well, unfortunately, we've got a lot of aging infrastructure. Some of it's not as visible as bridges. Some of it's water systems, pipes underground that essentially were built back in the 1930s. In some cases, even older than that. So we're going to have to make a commitment to our long-term infrastructure. And one of the things that we're hoping to do is, as we make more investments in infrastructure under my administration, that we start figuring out ways that we can take some of the politics out of infrastructure. And what I mean by that is, right now, a lot of decisions are made about projects based on who's got the most powerful congressman or senator. And what we're hoping to do is at least some of the decision-making based a little bit more on what are the engineering plans that determine this is the best project to go forward. And one way of doing that is to create what's called an infrastructure bank, where at least a certain amount of infrastructure money, particularly for new projects, would be guided by some clear criteria, a lot of transparency, engineers and urban planners and city planners involved in the process, so that we can also get some regional planning. Because part of what happens when politics is involved in transportation is that, you know, the commissioner over here may not have the same idea as the mayor over here, may not have the same idea as the senator over there, except they all represent a similar region, and so you get a whole bunch of traffic systems that don't work and aren't efficient and don't serve commuters very well at all. So that's the kind of general direction that we'd like to move to. The second point I would make is that if we're going to be making investments in infrastructure anyway, we can't just look backwards. We've got to look forward. I mean, how many people here have been on one of these high-speed trains when you were traveling outside the country, unfortunately, for the most part? I mean, those things are fast. They are smooth. You don't have to take off your shoes. Right? Check to see if you're wearing the socks with no holes in them. Why is it we don't have those? Now, part of it is we're a very big country. We're not as densely populated as some countries in Europe and Asia. And let's face it, we just love our cars. We love our cars. We don't love gas prices, but we love our cars. But, well, I want to say, what about gas prices, right? I'll talk about that in a second. But, well, no, you know what? I'll talk about it now. Even if, and I mentioned last night, we have to increase production on oil. We have to increase production on natural gas because we're not going to be able to get all our clean energy up and running quickly enough to meet all of our economic growth needs.